Welcome back to the Chiropractic Podcast. I'm Tom Owen, your host today for the show, and I've got some very special guests in the studio, Doctors Justin and Candy Ford. Say hello, everybody.
Howdy, howdy.
All right. Well, just a wonderful couple to have on the show today, and just a reminder what this show is about. My purpose behind it has always been to inspire, motivate, and provide purpose to chiropractors in general, and also, like today, to give examples, just to show people, to give them hope, right? So inspire, motivate, purpose, but sometimes just to provide hope of what are the stories out there, what's happening in the chiropractic field. I feel like I've been working with chiropractors now for nearly 40 years. I can't believe I can say that. But, I've been certainly working in the chiropractic field for that long. And I find that, when you come out of school, you have your study groups and all your buddies, and then it's not too long after that, you get out into the field, and eventually chiropractors at some point start feeling like they're on an island by themselves. Yes. And maybe things went great, maybe things haven't gone so well, and you don't even want to let your friends and buddies and colleagues even know if things aren't going well. Right. So there's there's a feeling of isolation sometimes. So I like to use this show, the podcast, to as an opportunity just to hear stories of good chiropractors out there with the good intentions, good hearts, and what their walk has been like and what their experience is and what can people glean from that. And then also with Dr. Candy, specifically, I know she has a heart for pediatric chiropractic. So sometime during the show, I'd like to unpack that. So there's no telling where we'll go, but let's just start out with telling everybody who you are, where you're from, and let's hear the Ford's story. What got you into chiropractic? What's your driving purpose? And then, right on up through what was chiropractic like, opening the practice, starting the practice, and then where our paths crossed and what it's looked like since then.
Okay. Well, I got into chiropractic. I always say it's a cringeworthy story because it really did not make much sense in my life. I was at Mississippi State University in my senior year, and I was pre-surgery. I just knew I would be a general surgeon. I loved it and studied it and shadowed it. But someone came from Life University and did a presentation. And I always think about Dr. J.P. Whitaker because it's the same story. Someone did a presentation on chiropractic and sold the idea that if you were pre-med and it's hard to get in, you need a backup plan. And the backup plan should be chiropractic. And now looking back 15 years ago, now it's cringeworthy because it should be our number one. Our number one choice. And I just felt sorry for the guy. He was at the back table and no one was, visiting his table. So I went by, and when he started talking about chiropractic, he understood it so well. I even think about our conversation when I look back, and something about it. I said, I'm going to just take this application with me and think about it. And he was really excited. He had gotten someone come by his table, and I thought about it.
That's pretty bad.
It was a pretty bad story. Right? And I thought about it, and I don't suggest this to anyone, but I talked to God, but I kind of made a bargain, and I don't suggest that. But at the time, that's where I was, and I said, God, I'm going to apply for both med school, and I'm going to apply for chiropractic, and whichever one lets me in first, I'm going to try for 6 months. And if I like it, I'll stay. If I fail, I'll try the other. And I tried chiropractic because I got accepted into the school first. And I packed up and moved to Atlanta, and I loved it. And knew coming in to hear all of our fellow classmates' story that I was in a deficit. They had philosophy and I didn't. And so I started studying it, and within a year, we started dating and decided to pursue this together.
Yep. So I'm originally from Central Florida and started out in the film and television business because that was my dream coming out of high school. Wanted to be a big Hollywood type director, but not actually move to California. Wanted to do it in Florida, and worked with a guy there who did a lot of water-based photography, a lot of underwater photography. So I was getting to use my talents and just engineering mindset. I wanted to be an engineer too, so I was kind of putting the two together, building underwater camera housings and lots of really cool stories and things. But 2008 came along and the economy tanked and we didn't have a whole lot of work to do. So I got a side job working as an assistant coach on a real small Christian high school baseball team. And the other assistant coach was a chiropractor. And so, the kids would be like,
Wow.
Coach, I threw too many curveballs last night, or I slid into second base wrong and twisted my ankle. Can you work on it? And, if we were on the field, if we were in the dugout, he'd fix it right there. And I thought, man, that is the coolest thing I have ever seen. Because I knew chiropractors. I just had no idea what they did. And I thought to myself, no pills, no surgery. It's instant relief. Man, that's pretty neat. And the further down the rabbit trail I went, looking into what chiropractic was, it just made sense to me. Again, I kind of got an engineering brain. And the more I looked into it, I thought to myself, you know what, this might actually be something worth pursuing. And prayed about it. I didn't make a bargain. But I said, Lord, I'm single. I'm not tied to anything here. If this is what you want me to do, now's the time to change it. And here we are 15 years later. And so I always say, never underestimate the power of an adjustment, whether figurative or literal. And so I went to Life University, and it's funny because you had to have prerequisites and things out of the way. Well, the administration kind of got my classes messed up, and so I was delayed 3 months, but it's what put me in the same class as Dr. Candy, and that's how we met.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now, so I had heard there was some connection background in video and photography, but I had never heard that. And I got to tell you, Dr. Justin, I think that's probably one of the most unique background stories
Full
of
180.
how in the
What are we doing
world
over
do you get
here?
video chiropractor.
Yep, total transition. But God knows every step of the way. He knows the end from the beginning. And so he's masterfully just, all right, nope, a little bit
Intertwining.
this way. Nope, come back a little bit this way. He knows every step before you take it. And if you just follow the path he puts you on, he's going to take you to exactly where you need to be.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
The two of you met in school, graduated. How in the world did you end up where you ended up? And what did practice look like, starting up and so on? Just tell the story so people can, because I'm telling you, there's people going to listen to this right now. They don't know us from Adam, and they're going to go, their story sounds like my story.
Right.
But my outcome has not been the same as what you guys have experienced.
True that.
So,
Do you want to tell it?
Yeah. Well, in school, I felt like we were really pushed to, you had to either associate or buy from a retiring doctor. It just seemed to be the common theme. And there were no guidelines on buying from a retiring doctor, but I'm from Mississippi, and a doctor that, he wasn't in my hometown, but he was retiring. Word got to me through our state association. And we went down to Gulfport, Mississippi, and looked at 2 offices from 2 retiring doctors that were just at the end of their career. And we decided, we have a good feeling about this one, not because, he had a huge patient base or a nice office, but everyone got the exact same adjustment. And we knew those people needed help. So we felt like we were needed there. We were not told how to get our business ID. We weren't told how to get our own lawyer. And we did a good old boy handshake. And it did not turn very well for us. Within the month of being in office, we had to let go of employees who were illegally billing. There was a lot of illegal insurance going on. There was a lot of, everybody had a $5 copay, even if you didn't have insurance. Very much dual fee schedules. And we just had to wipe it clean and do our own thing. And
when we wiped it clean, half of his patient base that he sold us left.
Well, more than half. I think our first month we were in the 30s, 30 patient visits. I still have that sheet just to show us humble beginnings. And
30 patient visits for the month?
For the month.
2 doctors full time. And we
Well,
didn't
you
know.
really weren't full time, but I get it.
As
Right.
much
We
as
were there
we were
all day.
there
You were
all
there all
day
day looking at
waiting
each
for
other.
patients to walk through the door. We didn't know how
Right.
to go get in the community. We didn't know we needed to build a community. We just thought it's a busy
Well,
area.
because we went in there expecting, all right, we'll do our internship. Our last 3 months of school, we'll go do our internship there. We'll build community with the patients. We'll build reputation with them. We'll build trust with them in that 3 months. And that way they know us when we take over. And it won't just be like a light switch from one doctor to the next. And like Dr. Caney was saying, he was seeing 200 patient visits a week by himself, which sounded great. The thing is that a lot of those patients had been seen 3 times a week for 10 years. Mm-hmm. It's like it wasn't patient care. It was get as much money as I can by, forgive my wordage, but raping insurance, and then dual fee scheduling everybody for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So it was a mess.
It was, and it wasn't easy. I took on a second job. I worked first at Michael Kors selling purses, and then I got a job at a college and taught college courses at night. And so it was a very slow build. We still didn't know how to get in the community, and we did that for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I will say that after that first year, it was a massive struggle. We collected a paycheck of like $100 or something.
$168.
In October.
We opened in January.
And the next year, it got a little better. It wasn't anything fantastic, but the third year, we got a little better. And I was starting to feel like, what? I think we're starting to do okay. And I would, like you were saying, talking to friends and people that we had been to school with that are doing, these huge practices and things. And I know that, they're not any smarter than I was. They're not working any harder than what I am. What is different? And when it got down to the common denominator, every one of them had a coach or a program, somebody kind of leading them through the business that we didn't get any education in school.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we decided to reach out, which we had grown to about 100 patient visits a week. So we had growth whenever we first reached out to multiple. We looked at marketing companies, we looked at management companies, and our friend Dr. Ryan Parrish graduated with us and told us, I really think that you guys should check out Aligned. And of course, we checked out everybody else. Why not? And I believe I talked to 2 people and signed up, and I was on a walk and said, just send me over the contract. I'll sign up. It sounds like what I'm looking for. And I got home from the walk. I was like, just so you know, we're in the Aligned system now.
All right.
So, okay. So sometimes it takes that leap of faith to move forward, too, though, when you know it's right and it speaks to your innate, and that's exactly what it did.
Yeah. Before we go to the next chapter of the journey, because that was transformational as to what's taken place. Something that you said really resonated with me is that what you said about what they're teaching in the schools and either one of those paths, right? Both of those paths, in most cases, are fraught with danger, right? Buying a practice, in most cases, in fact, I was just asked this by a young man yesterday, stopped me in the hall and said, well, should I do right what you guys do, which is right start?
Yes.
Or
The answer is
and he
yes.
goes, or can I still do right start and maybe buy a practice? And I just took 10 minutes and just said, there are some practices. In fact, we have helped with the transition of retiring doctors inside aligned over the years, and there are. But in most cases, I have to be honest, and I want to let the listeners hear this, is in most cases, you are going to buy someone else's problems.
Yep, someone else's mistakes.
You're going to buy their mistakes, which, look, it could still be a decent practice, right? But when you buy a practice, you're buying the market that practice is in. So if I was in Right Start and I'm looking at it going, wow, I get the plethora of choices of where is the demographics tell me is primed to open a practice. So first thing right out of the box is picking the right market and knowing why. So many cases, well, there's a practice for sale down in Gulfport or there's a practice for sale in Macon. Okay, that's great, but is that if I just had to do over again, I could pick
anywhere
the best
that I wanted
market.
to start.
So first of all, it could be a decent practice, but it's a challenging market.
For sure.
In most cases, you're buying that location with it, and the location's not laid out efficiently. So you're walking right in, and yes, it's got some patient base to it, but it's got all these restrictions of growth. There's just more times than not, and then you've got, and I have to be frank, the vast majority of them have all kinds of, skeletons in the closet, and there's issues that they're not going to see. And last but not least, when you do buy a practice, and even if you buy the best practice out there, in that transition, that practice is going to drop 30 to 40% as soon as you cut the check.
Guaranteed.
So back to Right Start for a second, and I know I'm kind of taking the show in a different direction, but to that young man, I was like, well, to me, why do I want to spend 150, 200, 300 crazy purchases? It's $500,000. You're already in $200,000, $300,000 student loan debt, and then you're going to go buy a $400,000 practice. You're $700,000 in debt, and you haven't even
started
adjusted
seeing
somebody.
people. Yeah.
Or could we go the Right Start and have somebody like a mentor like AMC or Aligned that's opened thousands of offices with no failure rate, zero default rate, and we can do it with $30,000 to $50,000.
Right.
And our goal is to open and be in the black within 60 days. So I just want the students out there that may be listening to this, hear that. Do not believe everything that's being told to you in school, because the purchasing of practice is fraught with danger. And I can promise you that other route is usually not a winning combination of go out and be an associate, because chiropractors eat their young. They don't take it. They take advantage of chiropractors. They don't nurture. They do not take care of. Do not think that you're going to go to an associate position. The vast majority of them, I don't know if it's a 90%. I'd say it's plus 90%.
A whole bunch of them.
It's just a job. It's just a paycheck, and they're not going to teach you how to grow and compete with them. Maybe move down the street. So
because they really don't want you to.
That's right. And all they want you to do is to be there so they can spend time on the golf course, and you can make them money, but they're not going to develop those skills for you.
Right.
It's, I didn't want to take the show that way, but when you said that, it's like, well, let's stop there for a second, because there's a lot of people coming out of school, where are they? They're still in school, or maybe they're in an associate position, and they're feeling that. Just to let them know that there's hope that any chiropractor, just about every chiropractor, can follow that path of owning your own clinic. And how would it sound to be in profit in the first
Absolutely.
60 to 90 days? So, with that, took us on that little rabbit trail for a second. But let's get back to your story. So, obviously, somewhere along the way, Dr. Parrish, see, I forget little details. I didn't remember that. That was the connection. So, Dr. Parrish connected you with us,
Yes, sir.
and you were doing around 100 visits
A week.
week.
a week. So, what's it looked like since then? What's happened? And
Well, we did the typical, we'll pick the parts we like and we'll grow a little bit. And then one day I came to a summit and said, I just got the word that you're an AMC office now. You have to do all of it. And you want to be the example for that if anyone asks. And when we really dug in that first year, we were about 6 months in. And when we really dug in, the growth happened. That's when we started getting the patients we wanted. We started being able to market ourselves. We were able to get referrals and just learn how to have way better patient care, better patient conversations. I would think was probably the biggest thing we learned first is just being honest with the patient about the condition that they had and what it was going to take to get that corrected. And we started growing. Every year we had always grown, but we started growing significantly, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 a year in our income. And now here we are. We've been with Aligned for 6 years, so we're almost 11 years in practice. And it's just a lot different. We have a huge team now. We have a brand new office that we were able to build out and design last year. We moved into it last year. So it's in a way better part of town. It's not someone else's old equipment that we bought. It's all new. And last year we also found our dream land for our forever home. And we are into the framing process of our dream home. And we bought 77 acres. And we're really excited. It's just all moving forward. It evolved to, we have 2 children. And Dr. Justin is our full-time chiropractor, and I go home at 2:00 and homeschool my children, so I wear that hat as well. And we make it work. It works. It's referral based. It's not as stressful, and we just are having a good time.
So, how many patient visits are you at now?
Well, 2 days this week we saw 200 because we jammed everybody in there, but we see about 225 a week.
225 a week.
With me being part-time.
Here's a unique one, because I know the two of you, but to do that kind of growth, most people think, well, I've got to spend a lot of money to have that kind of growth. Most of that has been done internally, and other than adding the staff that's required, I mean, as you grow, you're going to have to add support. But there hasn't been you haven't gone out and had to buy $300,000 pieces of equipment to chase the niches or things of that nature.
We do very few therapies. We do some STEM and we do some ultrasound, but it's not every single patient. It's not every single visit. We are very much chiropractic heavy. That's what's the most important part. You can add the shiny objects and things, but when it comes down to it, the most important thing that a patient can get is an adjustment to a subluxation. And that's what we do. Like you said, we're not doing $200,000 a year off of a traction unit or something like that. I would say probably 90% of our income is chiropractic adjustments.
But the key is you get to do it efficiently and it's fun.
Yes.
And because you guys, I mean, you two are the epitome of chiropractic families, right? And you have a quality of life. You get to go home, homeschool your kids, and you're there, but you're not stressed out. Because so many people, I mean, I know you have the friends and the colleagues and so on, but so many people, when you say, well, I grew 200,000 or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, they equate that with you're burning the candle at both ends and you have no quality of life. That's not
Correct.
That hadn't been your experience at all.
No, I'm still getting off in the afternoon to make it to Henry's baseball games or, you know, Marietta's ballet recitals, you know, those things. I did not want to be the person that was there until all hours of the night catching up on paperwork, which I hate. And so.
Me and you too. Me and you both, brother.
So we show up for duty early in the morning. We get done at closing time, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
When you're at home, be at home. When you're at work, be at work, and that's it. So yeah, definitely not burning the candle at both ends. I got more important stuff to do.
That's great. All right, well, let's switch gears, and I know there's a passion about you that pediatrics. I've heard this over the years, right? So I haven't ever heard it from you. So what is it? Why are you drawn to it? And how does someone go about it? I mean, like, just, you know, how do you reach that community? How do you reach that demographic within your community? And how's it? What's the impact?
Well, I wish I had a magic answer for it. I did not start in pediatrics or maternity. I started just seeing everybody, and I built in years into it. Probably about a year and a half into chiropractic and opening, I had a mom come in, and she was about 20 or so weeks pregnant and said, I've been seeing a chiropractor my whole life right down the road from you, and he made me feel very uncomfortable because I had to lay on my belly for the adjustment. And when I expressed the concern, he told me I would be fine. And she just felt uncomfortable, and she had come to me because she knew that I would understand as a woman. And I didn't understand because I didn't have children, and I was not anything like perinatal certified or anything then. And I left that day from the office. I did her exam, and left that day from the office and went and bought 2 large foams and made a pregnancy pillow for her. And I couldn't afford it. They were about $80, and I was very nervous to spend that money because I didn't have it then. And the next day, I laid her on them, adjusted her, and she has been with me ever since. So it took her, not knowing that, I didn't tell her that story until about a year ago because someone had asked me, and it brought it back. But she then shared with all of her mom groups. And at her home birth, she invited me to adjust the baby that I'd never adjusted. I'd only practiced in school.
Right.
And I was sweating bullets. I was nervous. But her baby had been screaming for 6 hours since birth. And as soon as I adjusted, I believe if I remember correctly, T6, the baby just relaxed, melted, and slept for 4 hours. It was tired. It had a subluxation at T6. And it just, a fire was lit. And like I said, she has shared and referred in many people over the years. She put it on every social media. We didn't have social media then. And it started bringing in a population that was in need. Mm-hmm. And it built big time. There was no one, some chiropractors in town who didn't particularly know us or anything started turning people to me because they didn't want to see children. Children disrupted their office. And I welcomed the disruption. Mm-hmm. And I stepped out in faith there that that's what I was supposed to do. So feeling inadequate in how to adjust, I started using my continuing education hours toward pediatric adjusting, pediatric exam, and then it ended up just 2 years ago becoming perinatal certified. So my specialty is in pregnancy and infertility through what I call 4th trimester, putting the woman's body back together post-birth and making sure that her infant is well adjusted after birth so that they nurse correctly and they're a happy baby, not an angry baby. Mm-hmm. And it grew from that.
And what percentage of the practice does that make up? In
my side of the practice, probably 90% of my practice is perinatal.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I only have just a handful of patients who are either women's
health. A lot of people in Mississippi having babies.
Mm-hmm. Lots of babies, yes. Lots of babies.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But here's an interesting, and this is actually for me. Hopefully the listeners get something out of it too. All right, so let's talk about systems, because you know, I'm a firm believer that regardless of the type of chiropractic, now you're specifically into the prenatal, but I believe that you need to be a master of a technique. But in whatever technique it is, I'm not going to tell any one person, oh, that technique that's the way to do it. But you're taking it to, you know, a specialty. So you're taking a technique and moving it even onto a more specific. But you've got to master a technique, but then you've also got to have a mastery of a system, right? Processes. Now you and I know, we know that there's a lot involved with, say, the Align system. The Align system is all encompassing of everything inside the four walls of an office and even outside of it. But you've got to have that system.
Right.
Talk about it from a standpoint of how does the AMC system or the Align system that you've become so accustomed to, how does it fit and frame around that type of care? And does it operate the same, like for, you know, whether it be care plans or, you know, what I call a CER, and how does that play?
I loved whenever we first came, we were learning that very basic consult, exam, you know, first report. And it made sense to me until I didn't have x-rays to read on a pregnant patient. And I would stop and I just really mulled over it for a while until I said, you know, what's the concept there? What does the patient need to know? They need to know that they have a condition that I can help with. And I started creating a version of just the concept behind Aligned and the CER and reports and re-exams, and said, how does this, you know, align to the perinatal and pediatric patient who may not have films? And I still use everything that I have learned. I just make it more applicable to the person who is paying for a child's care, but not for themselves. They're not feeling the exact results. It's still about helping that child, but also about helping mom now. Now I'm helping the parents get relief when their baby stops screaming. So they are getting the relief. So I make the goal for both. And that really changed my practice.
That's kind of the need behind the need.
It's the need.
Is the need
what does the
behind the
person need? They're exhausted parents. What do they need? They're exhausted in pregnancy. You need rest. And rest comes with proper alignment and care. So yes, I still do a care plan for every single patient. I still do an exam. I still do a first report and a second report in the exact same order, exact same concept. I just had to make it what my office needed to, while not veering away from what the core of it was.
Yeah, because all you've done is you're proving what I was wanted to get out, is that people and times change. So, but principles never do.
Right.
Correct.
So it's just aligning the principles in a way, and then having the ability to convey that message and convey that principle. But that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. And certainly you can't see this over here, but you know, since she started talking about it, she's glowing. You can tell that's a passion
It's
for
her
her.
passion.
But I know there's a lot of doctors out there that are interested in that, and just the idea that not only is the techniques available, the systems available, and then marrying them together and merging them in a dovetailed process allows people to practice the way they want to practice. Right. So there's hope there. Again, inspire and motivate chiropractors and let them know that, you know what, there is a way to grow and be successful in things that you specialize in. Now, one last point, because I want to hear from you. I think you went about it the right way, and I can be proven wrong, but me personally, if I'm going to open a practice and I'm going to launch a practice, I'm not going to launch a practice being specialized and specific. You're going to cut that market so far down.
Right.
You've got to establish a practice build it up, create the deep and wide foundation that allows you to build the structure. And now when we get to floor 3 and floor 4, now it allows me, well, what's the penthouse look like?
Right.
Right.
The penthouse is the specialty,
Right.
right? But I just have a hard time okay, I've done all this work picking the right market, I've picked the right location, I've equipped the location, staffed the location, market the location, I've done all these components. Oh, but then I'm only going to help
Right.
2% of the population.
Don't back yourself in a corner.
Right.
Right.
It's still a business, right? I can have the love and the passion for for chiropractic and the treatment, but there is a business to it,
Right.
right? And to me, I don't want, like you said, paint yourself in the corner. All right. Well, I don't want you left out of the story. Let's talk about what's your passions and things. I know that here we are. I can't believe that 6 years.
Yep.
You said that a minute ago. 6 years. Time just keeps going flying by. But 6 years ago, you came on board with Aligned, and I know you have found a passion within the Aligned family that resonates with you.
Yep.
And talk about that and what's going on in that part of Aligned.
Okay. So I can say, I've been thinking a lot the last couple of months about legacy and what are you remembered for and purpose, and still working on it because it's evolving over time. And Dr. McMurtry, who is my coach, we got to talking about our vision statement. And originally it was to be the number one choice in healthcare for South Mississippi. And he said, all right, well, if you're going to do that, you really have to think about what the implications of that is. If we've got a population of 300,000 people in South Mississippi, and realistically a chiropractor would see about 10% of the population, that means you need to be seeing 30,000 people. And it was kind of an eye-opener in, going back to don't kid yourself. And so the last maybe year and a half, I've had this building passion to help chiropractors by, teaching here at Summits, helping teach those core values and those procedures and protocols, because I might not be able to see 30,000 people, but if I can train up 3,000 other chiropractors to do what they can do and do it well, then they can see more of the population. And that's what AMC is about, is equipping chiropractors with what they need to be what chiropractic was intended to be. Before insurance and before the allopathic system tried to paint us into a corner of pain relief, neck complaints, and whatever. Man, I teach in POC class. People used to go to chiropractor for everything. It didn't matter what you had. Your big toe hurts, you go to the chiropractor. Your stomach's not working right, you go to the chiropractor. You get a headache, you go to the chiropractor. Chiropractor was the first stop in its infancy. And that's really what we want to see the profession get back to. And so I got to teach my first class here yesterday, and so I'm now engaging in that part of the calling that God has on me. And like I said, I just want to help as many chiropractors as I can. I want to help as many patients as I can as well. And another avenue that God has blessed me with is the ability to do some short devotionals through the Aligned in Faith messages. And y'all, I'm not going to lie to you. I am not a pastor. I don't have a degree in theology.
That's the good thing.
That's the good thing, maybe. But I've been saved since I was 8, and I've been behind behind the scenes of the church since I was a teenager. I started serving with my church when I was 15 years old on the television crew. And so I've been around the block a few times, and I've got a lot of hard lessons that I've learned through the years. And, really just want to help people grab a hold of, some of the insights that God's given me through the years that have helped me get through hard places, so that maybe they don't have to go through those hard places. That's what a testimony is. Testimony's there to not only give glory to Him, but help that person that's in the same test.
To give hope to the to give hope to the others that can relate. Kind of like what this show's about today.
Exactly.
Show's about hearing your story. I've heard some things that I didn't know, but it's about there's somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
There may be 2,000 listeners for this episode. We're not doing it for the 2,000. We're doing it for the one.
Right.
There's somebody out there who need to hear this and that can relate with it and understand it. There is hope, and there is a way, and there's a way to move forward, and there's a way for you to have, basically the way I feel about it is I think all chiropractors, true chiropractors,
Mm-hmm.
deserve that level of prosperity and success. They deserve to have that quality of life, not for chasing money.
Right.
I'm talking about you deserve it because just to be a chiropractor
Absolutely.
is just, to me, you going against the grain just when you made that decision. When you went from general surgery to chiropractic, you didn't know that you were choosing a path of resistance.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? And I just feel like every chiropractor deserves to be. And, I may be wrong. Somebody can prove me wrong, but I think chiropractors do more for humanity in one day than most attorneys do in a lifetime. And that's not an attorney joke.
Right.
I'm not trying to put, and they're good. There's good attorneys.
Right.
But I'm just, and I'm sure they're passionate and trying to make the difference. But chiropractors lay hands on the sick every day. And I just think that should be rewarded. And I think every listener should know that there's a place, right? That's what we're here for. Aligned is here to help chiropractors. Whether you're the student wondering, do I have to be an associate or do I have to buy a practice? The student, you can own your own practice and have your dreams shortly after graduation. Or you're the guy that's 6 months, a year into practice, and you're already struggling, cashing $138 checks, whatever it was, and you're about to go under. How about the guy like, well, I won't name names, but the guy that's been out there for 20 years, collecting $20,000 a month, but has a $17,000 overhead.
Right.
How would you like to do that? 20 years in, and you can still barely buy pizza on Friday night for the kids.
No wonder you're frustrated.
Or there's even somebody else out there too. There's the ones that they've got a decent practice, a system, but they're either burning the candle at both ends, or they just want to scale. Right? They want us to be able to grow the practice without having to work any harder. Right. Isn't it neat that, and you guys have seen that over your 6 years, right? Over and over.
Yes.
All these different backgrounds come to the same source, and that same source can provide that in a format that says, if you don't grow, you don't know. So I know that's part of your reasons why you love it. So I know that was a big thing for you getting that blue coat. So
It sure was.
Congratulations.
It was our
Congratulations.
goal from our first summit. We're going to blue coat one day.
Wow.
It's going to happen. First summit. I won't ever
I hear
forget it.
people say that,
Oh, no.
they'll say it all the time, and I'll be like, yeah, we'll see about that. You didn't know
We
how
knew we
much,
were
how
part of the
it's
family.
hard. It's tough, but it's good. It's a good hard. So anything that you want to say as we wrap it up, sew it up?
I wanted to add one more person on that.
Sure.
You said the different types of chiropractors.
Yeah.
Even just the chiropractor who doesn't feel value. Because our numbers changed. our income changed. But the value that I gained, not only as a chiropractor, but as a person and a wife and a mother, being in the Aligned family changed my life. And it was really more that it changed our value.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not an emotional one, but that makes me emotional because if those 6 years had gone by, I can't promise I would even be in chiropractic.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're out of time on this show, but you bring up value.
Mm-hmm.
Your results will always be congruent with your identity, your beliefs, your purpose, and your values.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you've got holes in the bucket of any one of those four, you're not going to be happy with the ultimate results. Some of it you might have half buckets might be half full, right? You might be getting along, but it's not where it can be. So you're spot on with that value, and just seeing that. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate the two of you. I thank you for taking time. I mean, I know
Of course.
you got a busy schedule, and you come here and you're sharing, you're serving, but I appreciate you coming in, just opening your heart and conveying that. I learned some things.
Absolutely.
Thank
I
you
don't
for
think
having
I've
us.
ever heard that. Video chiropractic.
My claim to fame was I was on an episode of Shark Week.
That's your claim to fame.
That's my claim
I
to
think
fame.
I think we'll make a new claim to fame. How's that?
At least in the film and television side of it.
Awesome. Hey, listen, appreciate both of you coming on, and folks, we're going to wrap it up for this show, and we'll look forward to connecting on the next episode. God bless.